David Pastrnak has spoken out on the captaincy about this team days after Charlie McAvoy has voiced his opinion. We're going to be breaking that down as well as going over David Pastrnak and the new rankings where he finds himself. And we also have an update regarding this team being ranked one of the last in the NHL for contract details. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into all this though, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We know that just over 60% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. We still got a lot of Boston Bruins news coming out as this offseason progresses, and with things coming down to 62 days until the start of the Bruins season, we have a lot of news to cover until then. So be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. But we need to jump straight into this. And I want to touch on David Pastrnak and what he had to say and his comments on the plan for the Bruins captaincy going into this season. And as it comes out days after Charlie McAvoy, you can probably guess what we're expecting from the leader of this team that I will call him in David Pastrnak. And this is what he had to say coming in firstly. It says nothing changes. It wouldn't change if I had the C or if Charlie McAvoy had the C. We're all in this together. We still have guys in the locker room who've won the Stanley Cup going into this year. We're both going to have A's. That's what I know. I don't think there's any fire under them to do anything with that. And guess what? That's totally fine. And this is very similar to what Charlie McAvoy said. I think down the end, it was pretty much the exact same thing. But we know coming into this that David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, were not going to be in any kind of, not mood to argue with a C. They were both ready to be here and ready to win. That's their style of game, style of leadership. They don't care if there's a C, an A, if there's a W on their chest. It don't matter. They want to go out here and they want to win. That's the big thing behind this. And voicing from David Pastrnak the same thing that Charlie McAvoy had said. They are both, and I'm sure in behind the scenes, they're conversating about this whole upcoming season. They know that they're the leaders coming into this year, and that's no surprise. Those two, the longest tenured Bruins, the two that are really being, the leaders on this team, the head of this team on offense and defense, and heading to the season, they're going to have a big challenge behind them with a lot of new Bruins, but a lot of younger players that eventually will be coming into this lineup as well, with potential moves coming in the bottom six, as I've been mentioning, kind of all the offseason, and what that plan would be. But that wasn't it from David Pastrnak. He also went on to say this right here. Don't mind that. He says, I know I'm a leader and Boston's game will depend on me. We have to continue to work together, improve, and help the young guys. Now, I think some people took this the wrong way, saying that, I'm the leader. I think that he just meant, he's one of the longest tenured. It's going to be my job, not just the coach's job, not just my job. It's going to be Charlie's job. It's going to be every veteran on this team's job to help these younger players out, these newcomers to the Bruins, and really help out their path to make this team get back to the playoffs. And as I've been mentioning, I think that this could be as early as this year. And no matter what happens, we know that David Pastrnak is going to be hot for this season. We know that Charlie McAvoy is going to be hot for this season. And they're going to be taking this kind of newfound role where we have no captain. Brad Marchand is gone, was really the big leader on this team, and we're going to see these guys get a bit more vocal, more than we already have been, and I'm very excited to see how this kind of comes down to it and where things go from here. But we knew that Charlie McAvoy, David Pastrnak, we're not going to care if they didn't have the C. They're just here to take the leadership roles. Now, we had a bit more from David Pastrnak as well, and kind of coming into this, looking up right now from Elite Prospects, they're the two listed as alternate captains. I think it's safe to say we'll probably have one more join this team, and whoever that may be, whether it's going to be Elias Lindholm, Hampus Lindholm, whether it be, anybody else on this team, Pavel Zacha, Morgan Geekie. I think there's so many options on this team to throw another A in. They may have a rotating one as well, but these two, I will kind of say, are going to be co-captains on this team rather than just A's. So I think we can kind of take this here with an expectation of another one coming in. But continuing on the David Pastrnak conversation and the talk about him, he was ranked among a few of his peers in a very good spot and was ranked number 2 right wing in the league, solely behind Nikita Kucherov and just ahead of Kirill Kaprizov, Mikko Rantanen, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Reinhart, Kyle Connor, and Artemi Panarin. Now, having this jump up, I believe he was around 6 last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, 6 or 5. Or no, he was 4, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Jumping up to 2, obviously behind Nikita Kucherov, who's a very, tough opponent to kind of base yourself off of as well, is a big jump for him. And I think that this also comes with taking this new leadership role, seeing what he did last year on a terrible Bruins team, still getting 100 points, and really being able to control the game by himself on this right wing. You know, you have the skill coming from Nikita Kucherov, who's the exact same thing. You have that skill from David Pastrnak and, you know, peers around him, Kirill Kaprizov, Mikko Rantanen. But to me, there's something just different about David Pastrnak on this team, and he really does seem like the most vocal of this group of players here that are really in the top 5. And I think that, you know, easily you could have seen him jump up to 1 if this team was a little bit better last year, especially going into kind of the depth pieces of it and going into, you know, having his line mates being Morgan Geekie and any other center that's been on this lineup. It's definitely a bad season going into it, but David Pastrnak still managed to get 104 points, and we're going to see him jump up to 1 next year, and I'm confident about that heading into this season. But David Pastrnak still has a lot of stuff to come, and as we saw over the past few years, 113 points, 110, 106 last year, you know, just a phenomenal 3 seasons. And, you know, I'm expecting a pretty big jump here and another 82-game season for him, as much as we can hope that there's no injuries that occur part of the game. But David Pastrnak has remained at least pretty healthy so far over the last few seasons. So I'm expecting to see him jump up to 1 next year, but I think that's a thing for a later day. And I want to know what you guys think about that as well here in the comments below. But there is one more thing on David Pastrnak before we head on to our next topic. And David Pastrnak is set for a major kind of milestone here in this year. Actually, a couple of milestones. He is kind of on pace for 400 goals, 500 assists, and 900 points this year. This comes from the Hockey News saying David Pastrnak has potential, to hit some very big career milestones during the 25-26 season, as he could very well hit 400 goals, 506, and 900 points if he stays healthy. When noting that Pastrnak is still only 29 years old, him being within reach of these milestones is already very impressive. And now we're talking about David Pastrnak. You know, this is not anything that we didn't expect him to see. We're going to see him take this jump, and I expect if he stays healthy that he will easily reach this mark. Now, jumping into it as well, you know, he's just going to be a phenomenal part this year. He's going to have a bit of a different role, but that's not going to take away from any bit of his offense here throughout this season. But before we do finish this video off, I do have one more update, and this one comes out from a very interesting Athletic article where they ranked how teams use their cap space and ranking them among efficiency in this. And surprisingly, the Tampa Bay Lightning are 1. You can kind of go and check out this article out yourself as well. I'll put it in the description down below, so you can kind of go and read throughout the Boston Bruins rankings. But the Bruins are currently ranked as number 25, where last season they were 15. Now, along with that, and pairing that with what the Bruins are looking like, they went out and gave their grades for each contract while also putting kind of a blue for good, red for bad style of ranking. Overall, they ranked the team in a C. But you're looking at these contracts, the defense, pretty solid. I'm going to consider a C plus okay, because, you know, when you're looking at those contracts, it's Mason Lohrei, Henry Jokiharju, and, you know, yes, Mason Lohrei was a minus 40-something last year, but pairing him with really anybody, any scrap that was on the third line, you can't really do much with them. He's a rookie, but he's been so solid individually. Going into that as well, Henry Jokiharju, I think, is a phenomenal player. Pairing him with Nikita Zadorov, who's there's a C minus, and yes, the contract's a bit much, but Zadorov's kind of new role with this team is going to be more important than what his contract is worth. But you go to Jeremy Swayman, a B. You go up to David Pastrnak, an A. Morgan Geekie, an A. Pavel Zacha, a B. Or Morgan Geekie, sorry, a B plus. But going down, then you have Elias Lindholm, Tanner Jeannot, and I feel like these contracts, yes, on paper, they are a bit expensive. And, you know, looking at the Tanner Jeannot signing, and especially this year, kind of makes it make sense that signing is not about point total. It's about his role he's going to fill with this team. It don't seem like Don Sweeney really cares about these rankings. And obviously, he don't. He's the GM. He's making these signings for a reason. But he don't care what people consider these signings as good or bad. He's trying to do what is best for this team. And although some may not be the most kind of ideal or efficient type of numbers, he's still putting in some great work there on that contract side of things. And I'm not going to give him all the credit in the world, but he's been making some very good and some pretty bad moves here over the last little while. So I'm going to save that kind of conversation with him being out or not at a later date. But right now, I think that these rankings, they suck, but they are pretty fair in instance, while also, you know, not necessarily looking at what the role is going to be for those players. So, you know, I think it's pretty fair to say the bottom line. But that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you think about that contract efficiency in the comments below as well. But that's all I have for this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.